Hello everybody, and welcome to Witchcraft Wicca, or the Wicca Witchcraft.
Spiritual stuff.
You know, spiritual stuff. Anyway, today we have a very special show, and I am so sorry that we missed Mbok that transpired on the 1st and 2nd of the month. Dreadfully sorry, but I had a lot of stuff going on, and if you've been keeping up with the show, you'll know exactly what. Well, we're making up for that today because I have two special guests. One happens to be my very own husband, Austin Wallace. Mm-hmm. Okay? Who is basically a path searcher, knows that there's a God system out there, but doesn't know which way to look at it yet. Call him agnostic, I guess. And then we have Curtis Cross, which is a student of mine since he was 16 years old, who is now what?
I'm 25 right now, so almost 10 years.
Who is self-professed to be Christian pagan.
Yes.
Alright, and as you know, I am now eclectic spiritualist within paganism. And so we have a bowl of mixed fruit here. Speaking of grapes. Food of the gods, right? Anyway, so let's see. First off, you have been coming in here for about how long?
Well, since I was about 16, so I've been coming in here roughly almost 10 years, almost a decade.
Ever since your parents were coming in and ripping you out of here.
About every other day.
About every other day. Because they disagreed with me and my lifestyle and my teachings to you.
Yes.
Right? Which would tell you right off the gate that they happen to be very heavily Christian.
Yes.
And,
of the Pentecostal Christians.
Oh. Yes, Pentecostal. Anyway, but you've had quite a bit of problem with that. Finally, you've gotten your own place?
Yes, about 3 months ago I successfully moved. I'm in an apartment with 3 other people right now. I'm working on it. It's going good so far.
Who are these 3 people that you live with?
I'm living with my boyfriend and another couple.
You want to say hello to him?
Hello, Corey. And also hello to the YouTubers of which will be watching us.
Who are your other 2 roommates?
They're 2 of our co-workers. Cat Smith and Chris. I don't know his last name though.
You live with him and you don't know his last name? He could get you in your sleep. Anyway, I mean, you don't know. If you don't know his last name, you don't know his past, right? That could be a little bit scary. Is he a wild child?
He seems like he could be, and I really don't need that kind of drama.
Right. Okay, but now you started off very much Christian, like I did in the earliest days.
Yes, I did. I came up extremely within the realm of Christianity. I was raised Pentecostal. Actually didn't start into other branches of not just religion but spirituality until I was about 13.
And you started seeking out actively, or not so actively, paganism?
That kind of came as a side product, honestly, because what happened was I didn't know until recently, actually, that even within Christianity, it talks about gifts that people have. And I was always told that these things did exist, but I was always told that it was an evil thing and that people who had these were to shun the appearance of evil. So basically, these people were bad. Well, when I first experienced it, I then assumed that I was one of those evil people, and I took it on a very dark path in the very beginning.
And you took it into yourself and held it and made it you.
Yes? I did. Very much so.
And for a couple of years, actually, until I got my hands on you,
For about 3 years until I showed up here.
You showed up here looking for help and basically crying out for help. I really remember that very, very much because you were pretty aggressive. I saw a good soul in there. I mean, I knew you for who you were. And so took you in with my teachings and waited very patiently through all of it, you know, but had quite a tough time, I don't mind saying. Even being I like to think of myself as a pretty good teacher. A very patient one, obviously.
Yes, she's very patient.
He was actually out to strangle a cousin of his at one point in time.
Mm-hmm.
While letting everything get into him too much, because his patience wasn't his at all.
Nope.
Whenever I first met him.
0.
But he never set out against me, and I can honestly say he was a good kid. I never saw the dark side of him. But was told by all of my other students as well as other people. I guess I was the naive mother. Go figure, right? I like to always look at the rose. No, that's not me at all. I can't continue with that shit. I am way too on with everything.
Let's be honest.
But either way, I knew you were going through a lot of stuff. I understood. And I was a wild child myself. I had started out in Christianity. I had been there. And so it was pretty easy to make you my own, you know. And took you in and loved you the same way I did the others. And, so we'll get back to you in a moment. And then we have Mr. Austin Wallace, my own fiance, husband, significant other. He lives with me, but he is my husband in my eyes. Also agnostic, was setting out to be Wiccan or witch whenever I first met him, but really clueless to all of it because you were more or less raised in a Christian home too, right? And repressed, kept away and heavily sheltered from the world. Even more so than Curtis, actually. But had friends, and being a kid, you weren't innocent to the world. You knew that there was a lot more out there. But you had a friend bring you to my front porch after I did a spell work to find my perfect mate. Anyway, brought you to my front porch, introduced you, telling you that I was a good teacher and that I was into this type of spirituality that actually your friend, our mutual friend Jason, was into, right? How did you feel at that time whenever he brought you over here?
As far as what?
Did you feel relieved to be introduced to a new way of life?
Oh yeah, I thought it was very interesting, and it kind of opened up my eyes a lot more.
Right, and you actually saw something that you really liked, although really not knowing what it was 100% correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then you started coming more and more, made friends with me, and came to our holiday gatherings that we would have here at the shop. And, then you started more or less falling in love with the idea of a more loose, more relaxed religion that actually had interesting rituals and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me about that. What brought you more in it? Okay, let's start with your roots first, okay? Would you say that your parents were very, very strict within the religions that they were proceeding in?
They really, I would say my mother was pretty strict. Probably not as much as Curtis's, but
no, nobody's no. She's the Gestapo of religion. But and Wanda Sue is worse, right? Your grandma.
Mm-hmm.
But continue.
Honestly, my mother was, or still is, Lutheran, and I think the thing that really deterred me away from Christianity is people that it's not so much the religion itself, but the people that use it like a weapon. And, that's just...
Which your parents don't really do that, or at least not now. Right?
I don't know. I would say they've still got...
It's still in them, but they're not actually pulling it.
Yeah, it's in them, but yeah.
It's in their arsenal. They just haven't used it in a while.
Well, I know that they know everything about me as far as being even a leader within witchcraft, but they're very accepting of me. So they have to be somewhat light, because his family would probably lynch him if he brought home someone like myself. I mean, they would literally probably stone him to death. Right?
Burn me at the stake.
Yeah, but, I remember whenever I first told him about you, then I think my mom was. She said that you were anti-Christian, and she said that it was like, basically these were her words, that anything that wasn't Christian was anti-Christian, and I was like.
Really, one cannot say that, because just because one isn't something... Okay, I mean, just because you're a doctor don't make you anti-mechanic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, those are chosen ways of life, just like this. I mean, and in reality, we have to look at it that way. I mean, because your job is 1/3 of your life. Sleeping is 1/3 of your life. And interacting with your family members in the household is 1/3 of your life. Mm-hmm. Well, that means that you're being a mechanic, or you're being a minister, or you're being, well, and minister has, I mean, that's about 90% of their life, but let's go a different route there. Being mechanic is 1/3 of your life, so it equals and parallels with everything else that you are, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's very important that we actually look at our job as being equal with anything else that we really are, especially if it's a profession, But your religion actually is interwoven and goes through every other aspect of who we are.
Yeah.
And it becomes even more a part of who we are, really, than what being a mechanic is, or being a doctor, because when you're in a religion or a spiritual field, then it's interwoven into our job, and we carry it with us. We can't just take it off and put it on the hat rack whenever we get home, or when we get ready to leave.
And I guess that's why I label myself as, or I guess if I have to label myself as an agnostic, because I really don't practice any religion. I mean, although I've got certain beliefs that, are kind of eclectic, probably leaning more towards, like shamanism, or,
well, that's what I know that you've been asking me a lot more about whenever reading your books, and what I've noticed you've been studying more in toward, although you have gotten a lot on Wicca and witchcraft from me, picking up a lot of what I do, and you've even studied the tarot cards just through listening me, talking about them. About every tarot card after the 6 years of your being with me, but you're more eclectic spiritualist, just like, I guess, the rest of us here. I don't think that really any one of us like to tag or title ourselves.
Not really.
We really just don't do that. And if we do, we generally say eclectic spiritualist. You're pretty much cut out of my ass. And you've been living with me, and we're just pretty much each other. So... And I guess you're kind of cut out of my ass, too. It sounds a little derogatory now that I listen to myself say it twice. But in all reality, you are who your mama is. You are who your teacher is. You are, who you work for. I mean, you learn to be part of them, or an extension to them, or whatever, And it's all pretty kosher. That's the hippie in me coming out, I guess. But no, we've only had one guest on the show up till now, and now we have 2 guests on the show. I find that pretty exciting. You know,
2 for the price of 1.
2 for the price of 1. And it was just going to be me and Curtis here, and my other half decided, he would finally participate in one of the shows. So you get to actually meet him for once. Yeah. And he's the shy one. He really is. But he's breaking loose, it looks like. Anyway, okay, so you consider yourself agnostic? I mean, if you have to tag and title.
Yeah.
And you consider yourself, if you have to tag and title, Christian pagan.
Well, for the most part, recently I've just been answering as spiritualist.
Spiritualist, like eclectic spiritualist, or just spiritualist?
Just spiritualist.
And I feel eclectic spiritualist. I have to be, because, I mean, you know, how many different types of religions have we had in the same room?
A lot.
Among all of the people that we've had at various times, with me pulling the group together. I mean, we've had Christians and Satanists and Druids and shamans and Witchcraft and Wicca and Santerias all sitting in one room together, and everybody dwelling in harmony. I mean, not for the most part, but completely and implicitly getting along. Although, you know, there would be differences within their religion, they would be accepting of each other. And I think, I like to think that I had a big part in bringing that together as a possibility, that I'm such the peacemaker, you know, that I kind of rub that off on everybody that comes into our midst. And we, together, teach each other when we come together. And that's the most important thing. You know, because in all reality, when we first started the covenant, it was me that started it. But it breathed its own first breath of life. Whenever I said something, and I have my stupid moments just like anybody else, and it was kind of off key, and I don't know what was wrong with me that day, but one of my students called me on it, okay? And I don't mind admitting that, because we all royally screw up. Everybody does. We're only human. But one of the students called me on it, and I backed down, you know, because I saw my stupidity. And so that was Shadow Insight's first breath right there, where, you know, I gave birth to it. But then it breathed its first breath of life right then. And it was an eclectic spiritualist group, you know. Of course, you know, we had to have rules and regulations dictating that certain articles of clothes with sayings that could offend other religions, you know, could not exist in our group, and people could not disrespect any god, and I still hold to that.
Exactly. Because
there's no religion that's entirely right and none entirely wrong. And most of us within our group felt that we all call to the same God system, or same God or deity, but it comes by many different names and forms.
When you get down to the nitty-gritty, it's all stems from the same basis, the same beliefs, the same morals. It's just different tokens by different names.
Right.
Or I should say same token by different names, different sides of the coin.
What do you call to, or what name or face do you call to whenever you're reflecting on the God system?
Well, it really just depends on the moment, because however I'm feeling in the moment really dictates how I word or say my things. Because there are times where I'll just say it like a prayer, and then there are times where I'll actually set up the whole kit and caboodle and go all out for it. You know, it's
like
really
me and my altar. Most of the time it's a big spread, but then I could pick and choose it other times.
I mean, there are times where I'll pray to God, or I'll say Adonai, which actually is the old Christian
battle aspect of God. Actually, Hebrew, really, to tell you the truth.
To be honest and factual, Hebrew.
Right.
And then there's Green Man, Green Lady, Diana and Cornuna, Isis, Osiris.
So you call to all the same gods and goddesses that I taught y'all about.
Yes.
That I call to.
And there's some that I acknowledge
from other pathways.
Other pathways.
Naturally.
But it's really there to me. All of it is a higher power. I mean, whether you call it by whatever name, it's essentially the same universal aspect. I mean, there are different individual aspects for more key focused reasons, and I do think personally that is the reason all these different religions and beliefs did form. I mean, because if you're saying just praying to God in the Christian aspect, you're praying for basically everything you're doing for Him. And if you look at it from a pagan perspective, even though you're calling to the same energy or force from above, the name
can change.
Power. It can change to it, and the whole gender aspect can change also. But
also does the situation and the aspect you need to call to for whatever situation.
Yes, because the way I look at it is, say you're praying to God in the Christian aspect, you have a huge key point that you're going for. But whenever you do it in a pagan way, you're pinpointing to make it a smaller target, so you're not wide-shotting everything. You're honing in on your specific need.
And you want to pay homage to various aspects that you hold dear.
Yes.
Because you don't want to push that aspect to the back of the closet and disrespect any deity aspect.
Exactly.
Or deity that you call to, regardless of whichever way you want to look at it, and everybody's different.
Yeah.
You know, but do you ever find yourself calling to the Holy Trinity? God, Jesus, and Mary? Or well, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost? There's a brain fart for you. Oh, did I say that?
See, well, when I look at it in the form of Trinity, I look at it as you have God, and you have the Holy Spirit, and then you have Jesus, who most people do believe is a different aspect of God made flesh, which in a pagan way of looking at would be just the same as a demigod.
Mm-hmm.
So
Jesus would be the demigod
version of like
Hercules or Zeus. Or not Zeus.
No, Hercules is to Zeus.
Oh, okay.
Like Jesus is to God what Hercules would be to Zeus. I mean, it's the same aspects.
Right.
Call them
it's Father and Son, and the Son is the one that dwells on the earth, but then rises eventually to become God, because Hercules was eventually made a god.
Yes.
And so was Jesus, elevated to at least elevated to the arena of God.
Yes.
You know.
And then you would have the Holy Spirit, which it would be complete your Trinity. And if you want to look at it in forms of genders, since everyone claims that God is the masculine aspect of it, then I would assume that the Holy Spirit would take form the feminine aspect. But personally,
what about Mary?
Mary, I do acknowledge that a lot of Christians do pay homage to her for bearing God's Son and bearing Jesus into existence. But I've never viewed her in that aspect. I do pay homage when I'm around those people who do, out of respect. But in my personal beliefs, she's not like at that tier. I mean, she's there, but it's just the.
But acknowledged as like the mother of God.
Yeah.
Or
Jesus,
the new God.
Yeah. I mean, I acknowledge
the Son of God.
Yeah, I acknowledge what people view her as, but it's not basically held in my same realm. But I do pay respects, because I don't believe in disrespecting any form of beliefs.
Right.
Because it's each to his own. That's the beauty of spirituality, which is why I claim spiritualist, because when you get down to it, your religion and your beliefs can all be boiled down to what you physically believe and the politics of all of it. The true beauty of all of it is the spiritual side of everything. That Absolutely. Is where your true innocence and beauty come from. It's not your religion, it's your spiritual self. So that's why I lean more towards spiritualist now. But I will...
I couldn't have said it better even for myself.
Oh, yeah.
But, okay. So let's talk about you. This is a different side of the coin, I believe. Open up and tell me about how you feel about the God system. In your own way.
Well, I mean, I believe that I believe in the spirits, and I believe there's good and bad and neutral, and everything. I guess you could say that I don't really believe in like the traditional God. Like, I believe that there's...
You mean as an entity?
Well, I guess...
Or maybe as an energy, but not an entity that takes form?
Well, I mean, whenever people say God, they immediately jump to the conclusion... most people's idea is that it's an all-knowing and an all-powerful entity. Basically, I just believe that you've got different levels of spirits, and your higher spirits, they could be considered gods, but they balance each other out, in my belief, and I guess you could say that all these spirits together and what they create in their interaction together, I mean, that's
form the all-knowing.
That's the closest thing to God that I believe in.
Like if all of these entities are like spokes in a cogwheel that make the machine.
But it's more like, I mean, it's more of like, and I mean, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I mean,
no, just talk openly.
I just, I just believe that, God would be like, it's, I guess you could say an accidental creation. I mean, like you...
Or like a coming together of all the forces that exist.
That's a better way of putting it.
A collective.
Yeah,
a collective of all the people that have died. And in a way, I kind of look at it this way. I think that what you're saying is God in the way that we look at it. Like, sorry, I'm shaking the set. God in the way that we look at it is Diana and Carnunas, or Jesus Christ, or Mary, Mother. These are all entities. And they're really not so much entities, but the face of the earth. Like the earth's face coming through in images that we create for ourselves to where we can feel synonymous with that God system. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean,
like the deities as we see them are really images that we create of a God system to where we can feel synonymous with it.
Yeah, and I mean, but
that it is actually created of all the entities of the earth that have passed before us, all the different levels of spirits within it, and all striving for a higher position, right?
Yeah, and I mean, whenever somebody calls to a specific deity to do with motherhood, for example, he or she would be calling out to every nurturing spirit, every spirit that's, got that,
that niche.
Yeah, that niche.
Every spirit that is in that realm of their personality or their persona, if they have, if you could say they have one. Mm-hmm. It would be all the spirits that have that character within their spirit. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So you're saying basically that all the spirits of the earth create God, as well as the energy of the earth itself, the universe, everything working together, anything that moves to generate an energy, correct?
Mm-hmm. And I believe that's why the law of attraction, that's what makes sense to me, because I mean, if you're a very angry person, then you're going to be calling all of the angry spirits, towards you, and it's just going to get worse and worse. And or well, like breeds like. Yeah. Okay, that's like here at the shop. And one day, all the people that are going through this one problem, that are parallel with all the other people that would come in that day, they would come in one day. All the people that are on drugs and trying to decide that whether they're going to have an abortion or keep the child, unfortunately.
You know, and we have to realize and face the reality. There's this problem that is going on all over, you know, at least America. I don't know how much I can say about the rest of the world, you know. But basically, you know, in one day I could get all the people that are going through this same basic problem, although they're coming in on their own. But they're sensing the energy from this place on that day and feeling synonymous with stopping at that point in time. You know, so that makes a lot of sense in with what you're saying. But basically, you have a positive and negative, a white and black side to everything within the world. And, you know, in the God system, I mean, if you look at the Christian God, you can see that he has got a very dark side wherever it comes to passing a judgment. I mean, there is a positive and negative side. Also, I guess, in the Christian's mind, you have Satan and you have God. And you have the positive and negative portrayed in this particular way. You know, but, you know, in the pagan realm, you find that the light and the dark side is within every god or goddess. Wouldn't you say? Like each god and goddess has the ability to, you know, but so does the Christian God too, especially if he can cast you in a lake of fire and brimstone, you know, to burn for all eternity. You know. Now, I believe that a lot of the materials that we read, whether it's in Christianity or paganism, I believe that we're reading translations of translations of translations. And even if it's information that's being passed down from mother to daughter, as in witchcraft or Wicca, you know, then you're losing certain things along the way as you go. But, you know, it a lot becomes distorted. And, you know, when Gerald Gardner came around bringing, you know, witchcraft back out from the underground where it had been hidden for centuries, you know, who knows, you know, how much of it this man created or how much he brought forward from the past. We don't know that. There's no way anybody really can, you know. But we can sit back and we can make sense of what just makes sense, you know. Look around the world and know that, okay, if we don't take care of this earth, then it's going to deteriorate. It's not going to be able to support us, you know. And so, in a way, that puts God through us to act on the God system's behalf, to clean up the world if we will, or to be lazy if we want and let it deteriorate and fall, which unfortunately we're finding that to be the case more times than not, you know. But in all reality, I mean, when you bring two people together and they're talking about their feelings on religion or the God system, if you listen to it real close, you're saying the same things. You're just putting it in a different way. You know, I believe that, you know, the God system comes by many different names and faces, but it's one entity. And we all strive for a higher purpose. That there's no religion that's entirely right and no religion entirely wrong. You believe that the God system is all of the entities that exist herein, but it's no different than the way I feel, because I feel that whenever people come back, it's to get things right again and again until they get it right. And when they finally do, then they can rise and become part of that God system. And a lot of witches or Wiccans would call that Summerland. How do you feel? I mean, in all reality, whenever the Christian believes in people dying, they rise and they join up in the heavens. I mean, if you were 100% Christian, sorry. You know, I've got to set that straight.
Yeah. Well, the way I always thought of it was, if that is how it happened, then whenever they go up, then if you are going into heaven, you would be living in that realm. So why would you not adhere to that? Why wouldn't you be part of that if you are part of that realm that
you're sitting on the left hand of God, remember? if He's chosen you and taken you up.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're becoming part of that God system, right?
Yes.
So would it be any different?
No, not really. We need to remember when we read that demons were originally angels. That
They were there.
According to biblical studies, that were cast out or fell after the war between God.
Now that is where Christianity differs from paganism.
Yes.
Because in Christianity, the demons existed. The devils were there. And there really wasn't one, although the Christians refer to it as one. But there were originally 72 fallen. The Bible says it itself.
Yes.
You know, nobody can deny that.
Mm-mm.
You know, there are names for each and every one of these.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, in paganism, you know, there are a lot of pagans that do believe in the 72 fallen angels and have studied the names of it and so forth. But they're, you know, really within paganism, we believe that individuals fall and become the dark energy or the negative. And then there are also those that believe that devil, Satan, there's not an entity there, but it's an existing evil. You know what I mean? An energy that exists on the world.
There's a lot of diversity just on that, because just saying Satan or devil or Lucifer, people start to accumulate this idea of one being when all of these names are being used to talk about separate entities.
Yeah, but I mean, it may have been a way for the Christians to condense it down
to one
entity, you know. And I can kind of understand that because it represents to them the same thing, whether it's Dagon or Lucifer or Satan or whoever. It represents the same principle. Although, if you really read deep, you find that each and every one of these 72 fallens had a job to do for God. And that's also why you can't actually kill them if you are, per se, one of these individuals that set about to encapsule or kill the spirits that would degrade God or others that walk. You know, but here we're getting into some really, really deep territory, and probably should save that for another show.
Save it for another show.
But that's really deep stuff, and you have to have a really good perception or idea about, you know, the heaven and hell, you know, if you want to tread there, per se. But
I think where I was originally going with it was that when we ascend or descend, depending on the ruling from a Christian aspect, that we would be in that system. We wouldn't be an angel or a demon because they're a completely separate race as far as they teach in biblical
like
terms.
the Nephilim, if you want to go there. I mean, but
that's for a completely different show, because that goes so deep. There's so far you can take it within each of these topics that you can't possibly cover even a fraction of it in just one show.
I believe that there's no religion entirely right and no religion entirely wrong. I believe that the God and Goddess shows itself in everybody and in the earth itself and in the planets. I believe that it's not this and it's not that, but yet it's everything. And at the same time, nothing. It's pretty deep. I mean, you could shirk it off by saying that. But in all reality, you know, you can't just say that and leave it standing either. Because we're all made up of what the earth is, and the earth is God. I mean, you know, by whatever name, by whatever moral. But, you know, isn't religion fantastic? Spirituality. Yes. Religion is a totally different thing, and I'm sure everybody will agree with me when I say that religion is being at a certain place, at a certain time, doing a certain thing, and in exactly the certain way. Okay? Also, to a degree, is ritual, but ritual could extend in many other directions, you know, than that. But what we're talking about is spirituality here. That's what we are. That's what we profess to be. Or at least that's the way I perceive us. You know, I think that you consider yourself to be spiritualist rather than religious, correct? And you likewise?
Yes, I do.
But, I think that is a good place to stop. Really, share with us on the video page what the God system is to you. Okay? And you can even name a few of your deities to give an idea. And what might your take be on what is evil or good? I really do enjoy doing this show for you guys. And I've really enjoyed this show and hearing from these two guys. And we'll have to have them on here a lot more often, I think, if they'll choose to come back and be a part of us again. Anyway, this has been Witchcraft Wicca, or Wicca Witchcraft, whichever way you choose to say it.
Spiritual stuff.
Spiritual stuff. Okay, and I really have enjoyed it, You take care of yourself and brought us blessings.